My name is Patricia Adamek, and I'm 28. If you stood in my grandmother Patricia's kitchen at 7 a.m., the kettle would whistle like it had an opinion. She'd call, "Trish, bring the cups," and I'd set 2 mugs beneath the little window that looked over the street, shop awnings like folded paper birds, a bus heaving itself awake. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. When she passed last year, the apartment, her apartment, became mine. Not because of a misunderstanding or a loophole, but because she chose me. She left a will. She left my name. $180,000 worth of quiet floors and morning light, the closest thing I've ever had to stable ground. My parents, Richard and Barbara, didn't say much after the funeral beyond the choreography of casseroles and condolences. They've always been better at optics than honesty. My sister Jessica, the family comet, 26, a marketing director who wears achievement like it's tailored, floated from guest to guest with the poise of a news anchor. I think I said, "Thank you for coming," 400 times, and meant it once. A week later, I got the text. "Family discussion tonight, 7 p.m., no context, the kind of message that makes your stomach drop before your phone does." I arrived at my parents' house with my boyfriend Noah, who squeezed my hand in the entryway. We've been together nearly a year, steady, observant, the kind of man who listens for the word you aren't saying. My mom made mint tea and didn't drink it. My dad set his jaw like he was bracing for wind. Jessica sat straighter than necessary. "Patricia," my dad started, his voice soft with something that wasn't kindness, "we need to talk about Grandma's apartment." "I figured," I said. "Do we need to clean, donate?" "We think," my mom cut in, "that Jessica should have it." I felt my face heat. "I'm sorry?" Mom's tone brightened into that brittle customer service smile. "Sweetheart, you know your sister. She's always been responsible, accomplished. She'd make better use of it. You're still finding yourself." "Finding myself," I said, even though I knew the script. I always know the script. It's the one where Jessica is the point of the compass, and I am the wandering needle. Dad folded his hands. "Jess has vision. With her salary and Michael's, she could renovate, increase value, build a future. You could be generous here, Patricia. Sign it over, for the good of the family." Jessica didn't look at me. She examined the steam moving off the mint tea. "We'd involve you in the process, of course," she added, as if I were a committee member for a project proposal, not a person who was just asked to give up the one thing my grandmother had left me. Something in my chest flashed cold. "Grandma left it to me," I said, legally and intentionally. Mom's smile cracked. Patricia was old. She didn't understand real estate, markets. Her lawyer confirmed she was competent, I said. She knew exactly what she was doing. Dad sighed, disappointed like a teacher marking a failing grade. "Patricia, be reasonable. Jessica has always been the achiever. You've never prioritized stability. She deserves this more." "Deserve?" I laughed once, too sharply. I visited Grandma every week. Groceries, doctor appointments, check the smoke alarm and the sink that liked to sulk. Jess visited, twice a year? Jessica finally met my eyes. "That's not fair," she said gently. "I was busy." "So was I said. "I was busy showing up." Silence. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the loudness of my own heartbeat. Noah's thumb traced my knuckle. He didn't speak. He knew my parents would call anything he said interference. He just steadied me, the way he always does, even when the room tilts. Mom tried again, voice syrupy and thin. "We're not forcing you, honey. We're asking you to think about the bigger picture. If you sign it over, we'll all come out ahead." Patricia would have wanted the apartment with the child who appreciates it most. "The child," I repeated, "or the favorite?" Dad's mouth hardened. "You have 1 week to think about it. We're disappointed, but not surprised you're being small-minded." There it was, the word that follows me like lint. Small. Small plans, small paychecks, small person. I nodded once. "I've thought about it," I said. "My answer is no." Mom's eyes gleamed with something like triumph. Conflict energizes her in the way sunlight energizes solar panels. "This attitude is exactly why you'll never amount to anything, Patricia. Jessica would never hesitate to help family." "I am helping family," I said, "by not enabling a lifetime of pretending I don't exist unless I can be compared to her." Jessica flinched. Michael's name appeared like a ghost between us. Her boyfriend, the surgeon, the trophy biography my parents never stopped polishing. I could practically hear the line they'd been dying to deliver. Jessica's engaged to a doctor. I waited for it, and when it didn't come, I realized they didn't need to say it anymore. It was the furniture of the room. My dad stood, which meant the conversation was over. Think on it, he repeated, like a verdict. Be mature. On the way out, Mom touched my arm. You know Noah's ex, Lena? She was at the fundraiser last weekend. Lovely girl, so composed. She smiled with too many teeth. She said hello. It was a casual dagger. I bled quietly. Outside, the evening had cooled. Noah opened the passenger door, watched my face. You okay? I'm fine, I lied. Your ex was at the fundraiser? He blinked, surprised by the direction. Briefly, she said hi. I told you I might run into her. It was nothing. I nodded. It didn't matter. My mother would shape that nothing into a shape she could point to later. Evidence I should be grateful for what I was given. I could feel the story writing itself around me, and for once, I wanted to be the one holding the pen. Back at Grandma's apartment, I let myself in and stood just inside the door. The place had the haunted stillness of a theater between shows. Boxes waited under labels I'd written in a hurry. Linens, tea sets, photos. The window above the radiator kept a rectangle of sky, already dimming to pewter. I set my bag down where Grandma used to set her purse and turned on the lamp with the scallop shade. The kettle wasn't here. Hers had been old and temperamental. I still haven't bought one. I boiled water in a dented pot and poured it over a tea bag in a chipped mug. It tasted like memory. On the counter, I smoothed the copy of the will that my lawyer had emailed me, printed because I needed to feel its weight. My name. Patricia's signature, neat as ever. The attorney's assurance in precise legalese. In a life where every milestone had been measured against my sister's, grades, jobs, even how I carried myself in a room, this was the one thing that felt unarguable. My phone lit up. Mom, I didn't answer. Then Dad. Then Jessica. Jessica's text. This isn't you. You're letting money make you cruel. I typed, deleted, typed again. Grandma left me her home. I won't apologize for keeping it. Noah leaned against the doorframe, hands in his pockets. I wish I could fix this for you. You can't, I said, and meant it kindly. But you can help me change the locks tomorrow. He smiled, slow. I'll bring coffee and a real kettle. I walked to the window, the one where Grandma watched mornings unfold, and tried to imagine a future where every decision I made wasn't a referendum on whether I measured up to my sister. The city breathed out a bus somewhere below. A siren keened. A couple laughed too loudly. Life was happening whether my parents approved or not. In the reflection, I looked steadier than I felt. They gave me a week, I said, but I already chose. Then we start living like it, Noah said. I nodded. I folded the will back into its envelope and slid it into the drawer by the stove. I labeled another box. Keep. The apartment creaked, like a ship, settling into calmer water. For the first time since the funeral, I believed it might carry me. I didn't hear it then. The distant click of a key that wasn't mine. The easy certainty of someone else's footsteps. That would come later. For now, the only sound was the lamp's faint hum and the very new thought in my chest. I don't have to be small to be good. I finished my tea and turned off the light. Outside, the city settled. Inside, so did I. Tomorrow, I'd buy a kettle and a locksmith and the courage to say no again. But tonight, I slept in my grandmother's sanctuary and let it become mine. The morning light in Grandma's apartment is different, filtered, deliberate. It makes everything look like it's waiting for a story to happen. I was halfway through boxing up her old records when I heard it. Metal turning in the front door lock. A key. For a second, I thought I'd imagined it, but then the door opened, smooth as if it had every right to. Perfect timing. I froze. Jessica stood in the doorway wearing high heels, a designer trench coat, and that effortless grin she uses when she's already decided she's in charge. In her hand, a tape measure. Jess, I said slowly, what are you doing here? She stepped past me, clicking the tape open. I'm just getting some measurements for the renovation. Michael and I have amazing ideas for this space. It was surreal, her tone cheerful as if we'd planned brunch. Renovation? I repeated. How did you even get in? She held up a silver key. Mom gave it to me. She said you were being difficult about the apartment, so they wanted me to start planning ahead. The casualness of it knocked the air out of me. Jess, this isn't your place. You need to leave. Come on, Trish, be reasonable, she said, pacing through the living room. Look at this layout. You'd never be able to afford a proper remodel. But with Michael's connections, we could knock out this wall, open the kitchen, modernize everything. You'd still get to visit. Visit? I repeated. Jessica, this isn't a vacation home, it's mine. Grandma left it to me. She blinked, her smile faltering only slightly. Grandma was sentimental. She didn't understand property values. She wanted what's best for everyone. No, I said quietly. She wanted what was best for me. Jessica sighed and looked at me with that pitying tilt of her head I've known since childhood. You're being emotional. It's not a good look, Trish. Think long term. I crossed the space between us, took the key from her hand, and stepped back. Leave. Now. Her jaw tightened. You're really doing this? I am. Wow, she said, blinking fast. I never realized how selfish you could be. Then you haven't been paying attention. For a heartbeat, the only sound was the hum of the refrigerator. Then she turned sharply toward the door, heels striking hard against the tile. You know, everyone always said I was the responsible one. Guess they were right. The door shut. I locked it, twice, and leaned against it until my breathing slowed. By the time Noah arrived that evening, I'd already called a locksmith. He listened quietly while I told him everything. She had a key, I said, pacing the kitchen. Mom gave her a key, Noah. They just handed it to her. He set down a paper bag with takeout and reached for my hand. You did the right thing. You can't let them walk all over you. I know, I said, but my voice trembled. It just feels wrong, standing up to them, like I'm betraying someone. You're not betraying anyone, he said softly. You're protecting yourself. That night, I emailed Mr. Browning, the estate lawyer who'd handled Grandma's will. His reply came early the next morning. The property was left solely to you, Ms. Adamek. No other party has legal claim. Changing locks is within your right. Please document any further interference. I read it 3 times. It felt both powerful and terrifying. But within hours, the phone started lighting up again. Mom, Patty, you embarrassed your sister. She was only trying to help. Dad, we're disappointed, but not surprised. Jessica, I'm honestly shocked you'd treat family like this. Money really changed you. I wanted to throw the phone out the window. Instead, I texted back one line to Jessica. Respect my boundaries or stop contacting me. Her reply came instantly. Boundaries? This is family. That word, family, had always meant rules that only applied to me. By the weekend, Noah convinced me to get out of the apartment for a while. We walked through a Saturday market near the river. The smell of coffee and fresh bread wrapped around us like a safer kind of nostalgia. You know, he said, I ran into Lena the other day. I stopped walking. Your ex? He nodded. Yeah, just briefly. She was at that charity brunch my mom dragged me to. Apparently she talked to your mother there. I laughed, hollow. Of course she did. She asked if we were still together, he said. I told her yes, and that you're amazing. She didn't seem thrilled. So now my mom has a new ally, I said. Fantastic. He stopped in front of a flower stall and picked up a bunch of daffodils. You know what Grandma Patricia told me the day I met her? I frowned. You met her? Briefly. You were out of the room, he said, smiling at the memory. She said, keep her steady, the world won't. My throat tightened. She really said that? She did, so that's what I'm trying to do. We walked back in silence, daffodils between us like a promise. When we reached the apartment, I noticed a note taped to the door. The handwriting was unmistakable. Mom's looping cursive. We can't believe what you've become. Grandma would be ashamed. Think about what you're doing before you destroy this family. Noah read over my shoulder. You want me to take it down? I shook my head. No, I want to keep it. Evidence. That night, I filed everything. The note, the texts, screenshots, even the lawyer's email, into a folder on my computer named Boundaries. It felt almost ceremonial. Later, lying beside Noah, I whispered, Do you think they'll stop? He didn't answer right away. I think, he said carefully, they'll stop when they realize you're not breaking this time. I stared at the ceiling. The city outside hummed. Somewhere deep in me, something was changing shape, something small but solid. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for my family to approve my decisions. I was preparing for the moment they realized they couldn't control them. Still, I couldn't shake the image of Jessica standing in that living room, tape measure in hand, talking about our apartment like I was just borrowing it. And I knew, somehow, that wasn't the last time I'd see her inside these walls. 2 weeks passed. The text slowed but didn't stop. Each silence felt like a held breath waiting to break. I tried to live normally, work, therapy, weekend breakfasts with Noah, but the quiet always felt temporary, like a pause before another storm. That storm arrived one Sunday afternoon, disguised as a polite knock. When I opened the door, Jessica was standing there in a pale blazer, holding a binder. Beside her was Michael, the pediatric surgeon she never stopped name-dropping. He gave me a professional smile, the kind doctors use before delivering bad news. "Patricia," Jessica said brightly, "we're here to talk, constructively." I didn't invite them in, but they walked past me anyway. Michael set the binder on the coffee table and opened it to a spreadsheet. "Let's approach this logically," he said, as if my home were a boardroom. "Jessica and I have been researching renovation costs and market values. We think there's a solution that benefits everyone." I crossed my arms. "Go on." He slid a printed chart toward me. "The apartment's current estimated value is about $180,000. After a full renovation, open floor plan, upgraded kitchen, it could appraise closer to $320,000. That's a $140,000 increase." Jessica leaned in, smiling like a presenter at a product launch. "We're willing to offer you $50,000 for signing it over. You'd keep the cash, we'd take on the renovation costs, and everyone wins." I blinked. "You're offering me $50,000 for something worth $180,000? "It's about potential," Jessica said smoothly. "You're not really the renovation type, Trish. You'd probably just rent it out or sell it for quick cash. Michael and I have the resources to turn it into something beautiful, something that honors Grandma's memory." "Honors her memory?" I repeated, "by erasing the home she built and putting in an island counter?" Michael adjusted his cufflinks. "We're just being realistic. It's not personal." "Of course it's personal," I said, my voice rising. "It's my name on the will." Jessica sighed, her patience fraying. "Grandma was generous, but let's be honest. She pitied you, Trish. She probably thought leaving you this apartment would make you finally get your life together." That hit harder than I expected. "Pity?" "She wanted to help you," Jessica said gently, the way people talk to a lost child. "But you've never been great with responsibility. Property ownership, taxes, maintenance, insurance. It's complicated." Michael nodded in agreement. "You're young. You might not realize how overwhelming it can be. Let us handle it. You'd be doing the responsible thing." I looked between them, the perfect couple standing in my grandmother's living room, trying to sell me on the idea that I wasn't capable of keeping what was mine. "Get out," I said. Jessica blinked, startled. "What?" I said, "Get out of my home." Michael raised his hands like a mediator. "Patricia, there's no need to get emotional." "Stop calling me emotional," I snapped. "You don't get to walk in here and call manipulation a family discussion." Jessica's face tightened. "You're really going to let money come between us?" "No," I said quietly. "You already did that." They left after a few more hollow words about thinking it over. The door clicked shut behind them, and for a moment the apartment felt too small to contain my heartbeat. I sank onto Grandma's old couch and buried my face in my hands. It wasn't about the apartment anymore. It never had been. It was about worth, about who got to be seen as deserving. When Noah came by that night, I told him everything. He sat beside me, silent, until I ran out of words. "They really said Grandma pitied me," I whispered. He frowned. "That's cruel." "It's familiar," I said. "They've been saying it my whole life, just not in words that sharp." He took my hand. "You don't need to prove anything to them." "I think I do," I said softly, to myself. The next day I called Mr. Browning again. "Can I get a restraining order if this continues?" I asked. He paused. "We can document everything. That would be the first step. Keep records, dates, texts. Don't engage further without me." So I did. Every message, every phone call, every word. That week I also started therapy. My therapist, Dr. Evans, listened without judgment as I described a lifetime of being compared, corrected, and minimized. She said something that stayed with me. "It's not selfish to protect what's yours. It's self-respect. The guilt you feel is trained, not earned." I wrote it down, word for word. 2 days later, Mom texted again. "Jessica told me you were rude to her. You've changed. This isn't the daughter I raised." I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "No, this is the daughter you raised who finally learned to say no." For a few blissful days, there was silence. Then, late one night, Noah's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. "Who is it?" I asked. He hesitated, then turned the screen toward me. A message from Lena, his ex. "Your mom called me. Said you might need help talking sense into Patricia." My stomach dropped. "Your mom?" He nodded slowly. "Apparently she and your mom know each other from that hospital gala. I swear, Trish, I didn't know they'd actually talk." I let out a dry laugh. "They're building alliances now. Perfect." He reached for me, but I stepped back. "I'm not angry at you," I said. "I'm just realizing how far my mother will go." I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table, reading Grandma's handwriting in the margins of an old cookbook she'd left me. Love what you can keep, let go of what you can't. It hit me then. She hadn't meant people or money. She meant peace. The next morning, I took the binder Jessica left behind and shredded it, page by page. Paper dust settled in the sunlight like ash. Later that week, a coworker stopped by my desk. "Hey, Patty," he said, "you've got visitors. Said it's urgent." The word visitors turned my stomach cold. Because I already knew who it was a Tuesday. I remember because I had a presentation due and my mind was on deadlines, not drama. The office smelled like coffee and printer toner. The usual kind of calm chaos that helps you forget your personal life for a few hours. Then the receptionist's voice came over the intercom. "Patricia, you have visitors. They said it's a family emergency." My stomach tightened. Visitors? When I walked to the lobby, I saw them immediately. Mom, Dad, and a leather briefcase between them like a trophy. "Trish," Mom said, rising quickly, "we need to talk, right now." I glanced toward the reception desk. My boss, James, was watching from his office door. I felt my face flush. "This isn't the place," I whispered. "It is," Dad said firmly. "You've left us no choice." Before I could stop him, he was already walking toward James's office. "Can we borrow a room for a few minutes?" James hesitated, then nodded, sensing tension, but trying to be polite. "Of course, go ahead." Inside, the air felt heavy. Dad placed the briefcase on James's desk and snapped it open. Inside, papers, pens, a notary stamp. "Patricia," he began, "we've been patient, but this nonsense has gone on long enough. We've had lawyers draw up a transfer agreement." Mom nodded quickly, as though speed might make it sound reasonable. "It's the fair solution. Jessica gets the apartment. You get $75,000 cash. The family stays together." I blinked at the paperwork spread out before me. "You're kidding." Dad shook his head. "No, we're giving you an opportunity. This is more money than you've ever had in your life. You can pay off debts, maybe buy something smaller, more suitable for your lifestyle." "Suitable for my lifestyle," I repeated. "You mean less than what Jessica deserves." Mom sighed, trying for patience but landing on condescension. "Jessica is building a real future. She's engaged. She has stability. You're still figuring things out." My throat went dry. "Do you even hear yourselves?" Dad leaned forward. "Trish, this isn't a competition. It's reality. Jessica makes 6 figures. She can maintain the apartment properly. You can't." At that moment, James, my boss, knocked gently on the open door. "Everything okay here?" Dad forced a smile. "Just a family matter. We're encouraging Patricia to make a mature decision." James frowned. "She's one of our best designers. She makes her own decisions every day." The silence that followed was sharp as glass. My parents didn't know what to do with someone defending me. They weren't used to it. Mom's tone softened, but her eyes didn't. "Sweetheart, we're worried about you. This obsession with keeping that apartment isn't healthy. It's affecting your relationships." "I'm in therapy," I said. They froze. Dad frowned. "Therapy?" "Yes, with a licensed professional who's helping me understand gaslighting and manipulation." Mom's face turned pale, then red. "So now we're manipulative? We're your parents. We're trying to save you from a terrible mistake." "The mistake," I said calmly, "would be signing over the only thing Grandma ever left me to people who think I don't deserve it." Dad slammed the briefcase shut. "Enough! You're making a fool of yourself in front of your boss." James didn't even blink. "Actually," he said, "Patricia's handling herself just fine." Mom rose quickly, her voice shaking. "You don't understand, Mr. Turner. She's lost perspective." "I think she's finally finding it," he replied. My parents were silent. For the first time, they looked unsure, off script. Dad stood tall, his authority cracked but not broken. "We're giving you one last chance, Patricia. Sign the papers, take the money, and move on." I met his eyes. "No. You're throwing away everything we've done for you," Mom hissed. "You mean everything you've done to me," I corrected. Dad pointed toward the door. "Fine. Don't expect us to bail you out when this falls apart." "I won't," I said. They stormed out, leaving the echo of their footsteps in the hallway like thunder fading into distance. James closed the office door behind them and turned to me. "You okay?" I laughed, but it cracked halfway. "No, but I will be." He hesitated, then said, "I've met your sister. She seems nice enough, but don't let anyone tell you she's more capable than you. Different doesn't mean better." That hit harder than he probably realized. When I got home that night, the apartment felt heavier, like it was holding its breath with me. Noah was already there, unpacking takeout. "How bad?" he asked. I told him everything. He listened, then exhaled slowly. "They ambushed you at work. That's a new low." I don't think they understand boundaries anymore, I said. It's like the word doesn't exist in their vocabulary. He nodded. Then you'll have to teach them. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. Jessica. Her voice over the phone was small, almost tremulous. Mom said you embarrassed them in front of your boss. Why are you doing this, Trish? We used to be close. I closed my eyes. I'm not doing anything to you. I'm just saying no. She sniffled. I feel like you hate me. I don't, I said, but I'm done pretending that love means letting people walk over me. She was quiet. Then, softly, you're still my sister. Yes, I said, but that doesn't mean you get my home. When we hung up, I stared at the city lights outside Grandma's window. My reflection looked older, sharper. For years, I'd believed the story my parents told, that peace was worth silence, that keeping the family together meant swallowing my pain. But standing up for myself hadn't destroyed anything. It had revealed what was already broken, and I realized I wasn't the fragile one. They were. Still, something told me it wasn't over. I didn't know then that their next visit would come not with apologies, but with a lawyer. I should have known they'd come back. People like my parents don't accept no. They treat it as a scheduling issue. 3 days later, a heavy knock echoed through Grandma's apartment. When I opened the door, they were all there. Mom, Dad, Jessica, Michael, and a man in a suit, briefcase in hand. Dad stepped inside without waiting for permission. Patricia, we're done playing games. The stranger extended a hand. Robert Gaines, family attorney. Your parents asked me to help settle this today. Settle? I repeated. He opened his briefcase and began unpacking papers, a notary stamp, and a fountain pen. Transfer of property. We can finalize in 10 minutes if you sign here, here, and here. My mother set her purse down and looked around, disapproving. Look at this place, Trish. You haven't even done anything with it. Still boxes everywhere. You're wasting it. Behind her, Jessica clutched a folder of renovation plans, paint swatches, floor layouts, furniture catalogs. Her boyfriend Michael carried a rolled-up design sketch under his arm. Trish, Jessica began softly, just hear us out. We could make this place incredible. You'd get $100,000 cash. We'd handle the rest. It's a win for everyone. Dad nodded. You're 28, with nothing to show for your life but this apartment you inherited. Jessica's earned the right to have something nice. Mom's eyes glistened, half pity, half performance. We raised you better than this. Family comes first. I stared at the papers spread across my grandmother's dining table, the same table where she used to make me tea and ask if I was eating enough. Robert clicked his pen. Ready when you are. I didn't move. Jessica, I said quietly, do you remember what Grandma used to say about this apartment? She frowned. She said a lot of things. She called it her sanctuary, the one place where she could be herself without anyone judging her or telling her what to do. Okay, and... Jessica asked, impatience creeping into her voice. She left it to me because she knew what that felt like, I said, to be overlooked. Dad's face darkened. That's ridiculous. You weren't overlooked. You were lazy. There's a difference between being ignored and being disappointing. I looked him straight in the eye. When was the last time you asked about my work without comparing it to Jessica's? He opened his mouth, but I didn't let him answer. Exactly. Mom stepped forward, her voice trembling. We are proud of you, but Jessica's better, I finished for her. More successful, more deserving. It's always but Jessica. Robert cleared his throat. Let's stay on task. This paperwork won't sign itself. I turned to him. You're billing by the hour, right? Keep billing. You'll be here a while. Jessica's eyes filled with tears. Grandma was confused at the end, Trish. She wasn't thinking clearly when she wrote that will. She was, I said. Her lawyer confirmed she was fully competent. She knew exactly what she wanted, and what she didn't want was this. Dad's voice rose. We've offered patience, money, respect. You've offered control, I cut in, wrapped in guilt and signed with disappointment. Mom's composure cracked. Your therapist's been filling your head with nonsense. Maybe, I said quietly, but at least she listens. The room went still. Jessica's lip trembled. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just thought it would be better for everyone if Michael and I had the apartment. Better for everyone except me, I said. Michael tried to step in, his voice calm. It's not about money, Patricia. It's about what we could do with the space. You're letting it sit empty while we could build a home. It is a home, I said. Mine. Dad slammed a hand against the table. Fine. Keep it. But don't come crawling back when your job dries up or you can't afford taxes. Don't expect help from us. I won't, I said. Mom's tears spilled over. You're tearing this family apart over money. I took a breath. No. You tore it apart the day you decided Jessica deserved my inheritance more than I did. Silence. Even Robert stopped shuffling papers. Jessica sniffled, stepping closer. I'm sorry it came to this, Trish. I really am. I'm sorry too, I said. I'm sorry it took me 28 years to realize how you all really see me. For the first time, no one argued. They just stood there, my family, looking at me like they were seeing someone unfamiliar. Robert closed his briefcase. If you change your mind, my card's in there. They filed out slowly. Jessica lingered at the door. I still love you, she said. I know, I said, but love without respect is just manipulation. When the door clicked shut, I felt my knees give way. I sat at Grandma's dining table and cried, not from sadness, but from something closer to release. Later that night, I called Dr. Evans, my therapist, and told her everything. You did exactly what you needed to, she said. You didn't break the family, you revealed it. The next day, a text from Jessica appeared. Mom and Dad are telling everyone you chose money over family. I don't agree, but I still don't understand why you couldn't just take the $100,000. We could have all been happy. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Over the next week, I began unpacking Grandma's boxes, one at a time. The tea set, the photos, the record player that still crackled when it turned. I painted the living room the same color as her favorite mug, a soft sea glass green. I made coffee in a new kettle Noah brought, the one that whistles just like hers used to. Sometimes, in the morning light, I imagine her sitting by the window, smiling. This apartment isn't just brick and plaster, it's proof. Proof that I can stand my ground. Proof that peace is worth protecting. Proof that I'm not small. I have what she wanted me to have, my own sanctuary. And for the first time in my life, that's enough.